Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here. Once again to do another Naruto discussion stream. I am joined with Retrospect Greg, who is probably you might be familiar with previous Naruto discussions on this channel, as we discuss the live action movie director's announcement, as well as discussing whether or not this movie will actually happen.
Well, I mean, it's been talked about for like 10 years, I think.
Yes, for those who might need a bit of a recap, like Greg here said, for the last 10 years, there's been talks of whether or not there's going to be a live-action Naruto movie coming out or not. There was apparently done by Lionsgate, who have done adaptations of quite a lot of young teen adult novels. The most infamous probably being Twilight, but that's just what I can recall. But yeah, but let's see. It went into production hell, from my understanding. It just been frozen for many years, and for the longest time, people did not think it was actually going to happen. But probably following the success of the live action One Piece TV series on Netflix that had Oda heavily involved in, from my understanding, becoming the biggest show on Netflix in 84 countries when it was at the time of its release. Seems to have brought some interest back in doing a live action Naruto movie by Lionsgate. So it seems they've now found a director, and it's none other than been announced by none other than the director of the Marvel movie Shang Ch. Hold on. Yeah. Let me just and its director is this man here from the Wikipedia page, Destin Daniel Critton.
Yeah.
Who, as you can see, has directed quite a few films. Granted, it's not really shown Naruto in the list of films that are upcoming, but he's been. Sorry, what?
It's been, because it's not been, I don't think it's been officially greenlit, or maybe it has, but.
Mm-hmm. But from my understanding, it's been confirmed to him, and yeah. As everyone remembers, Shang-Chi came out in 2021, just 1 year after the pandemic spiraled in, and films were still kind of in that sort of phase a little bit.
Yeah.
But people were starting to get back in the cinemas, no, not as much. As a result, as you can see from its box office, it just managed to break even from its budget, but it was probably considered a big hit, at least in terms of that year, with how cinemas were done.
Yeah, well, Shang-Chi, I think the joke is that it's pretty good for the first two acts, but the third act, it just it jumps off a cliff.
Yeah, not the strongest standard Marvel movie third act, pretty much. But yeah, but it did have what some regard as some of the best choreography fight scenes, especially on that bus.
Oh yeah, that part was good. Like I said, I enjoyed it until the third act. That was basically what happened.
Yeah. In many ways, it sort of kind of makes sense that you would get a director that's known for doing very decent martial arts action for a Naruto live action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Since Naruto is pretty much supposed to be a series about magic ninjas, pretty much.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. And and for a director like this, it would definitely work well with characters like Rock Lee, that's for sure. But yeah. Now, granted, we have no idea what exactly they're going to be adapting for the live action Naruto movie. But the information that we do know, I'm just going to say from I've got from the Hollywood Reporter. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share the article, but it's pretty much titled Naruto movie in the works with Destin Daniel Critton writing and directing. Let's see, brackets exclusive. saying that Lionsgate is behind the biggest one of the biggest adaptations of mangas of all time.
Yeah.
The article goes on saying Naruto, one of the most popular mangas of all time, is headed to the big screen. Destin Daniel Cretton, who co-wrote and directed the Marvel Studios movie Shang Ch and the Legends of the Ten Rings, has been tapped to pen and helm a live-action adaptation of the title for Lionsgate. Cretton will also produce alongside Gian Munford through his company, Hisoko. The duo join Avi Ada, Ariada, and Emery Yu of Arid Productions, who are all behind the studio's upcoming video game adaptation of Borderlands, and Jeremy Lachman, let's see, who is a part, which is, it says bracket here, it's Dungeons and Dragons. If I recall, Avi Arad is part of the crew behind the Sony Spider-Man movies, right?
Yeah, I think he's also attached to that live-action Zelda they're making.
Fair enough. Anyway, the article goes on saying, created by Masashi Kishimoto, Naruto was a coming-of-age story focused on a young and enthusiastic ninja named Naruto Uzumaki, who wants to grow up to be the leader of his ninja village, but also happens to have the spirit of a nine-tailed demon fox inside him. The story was serialized in Japan's popular weekly Shonen Jump from 1999 to 2014, tracking the characters' coming of age, friendships, and many super-powered ninja battles. In that time, it became one of the world's most popular intellectual properties, with over 250 million copies of the collected volumes sold in more than 60 countries and territories. It has also launched several animated series that ran for the years on Cartoon Network, Disney XD, Adult Swim, and other networks. It has been adapted into video game form and continues to be merchandising juggernaut. Naruto has essentially been a building hardcore fans around the world for 25 years. Cretton has Kishimoto's blessing, something that's bestowed upon him after a visit to Tokyo, with from a quote from Kishimoto saying, "When I heard that of Destin's attachment, it happened to be right after watching a blockbuster action film of his. I thought it'd be the perfect director for Naruto," said Kishimoto in a statement. After enjoying his other films and understanding that his forte is in creating solid dramas about people, I became convinced that there is no other director for Naruto. In actually meeting Destin, I also found him to be an open-minded director who was willing to embrace my input and felt strongly that we would be able to cooperate together in the production process. The adaptation has been in development with Lionsgate since late 2015, and Cretton's boarding marks of a significant leap forward to getting it onto the screen.
Yeah.
Infused Lionsgate Motion Picture Group chair Adam Fogelson says, "This manga classic is beloved by millions of fans all around the world, and Destin has delivered a vision for the movie that we believe will excite that massive fan base as well as those who are new to it. Avi and I have had the pleasure of working together before, and know that we collaborate with Dustin and Team Naruto. We are in extraordinary hands." Cretton previously collaborated with Lionsgate on the Glass Castle, the 2017 drama he helmed, starring Bria Larson, the studio's James Mayers, who oversaw that project, will also oversee Naruto alongside executive John Humphrey. Cretton, who counts the award winner Short Term 12 and Just Mercy among his credits, is currently developing a sequel to Shang-Chi. He's last directed several episodes of American-Born Chinese, Disney Plus's adaptation of the graphic novel by Jen Lun Yang, that he has also executive produced. He is a rep by WME and Goodman Gino, and that sort of ends the article, so it gives us quite a little bit of information there. Particularly that he has Kishimoto's blessing, and it seems Kishimoto has seen some of his films. But yeah, that's pretty much all the information that we know of who's currently working with it. But yeah. Now, I will admit, I will probably agree with Kishimoto that at the very least, the director does seem kind of fitting with like his with the martial art and maybe even the drama bits. So,
yeah.
Granted, the only concerning bit is how the third act's going to be done. I guess, because like you said, you found the third act of Shang Chi to be disappointing, but I assume the rest of his movies are probably well done.
Yeah. Well, I'd say if you do it, part one could easily work as a trilogy.
Arguably, yeah, so maybe even 4 movies, depending on how you adapt it. Because at the very least, Naruto. It is curious to see how they're going to try and adapt the movies. Because as we know, Naruto is like part 1 and part 2, and it'll take years to just adapt every single arc.
Yeah.
At the very least, in terms of like adapting the arcs, the one that's very likely to be at the start would, of course, be the Land of Waves arc.
Yeah.
Which arguably is probably the best one you can do as a movie. So likely we'll probably just get Team 7's introductions, and of course like the Land of Waves where you have Sabuza and Haku as the antagonists. That is arguably the best bet. The only arcs I'm wondering about, of course, would be like the tuning exams and the Sasuke retrieval arc, at least at the beginning of like part 1, since Naruto, you can really split. Some might split into 5, but it's arguably 4 arcs in part 1. The Land of Waves, the tuning exams, which also includes like the invasion of Gahona. Sometimes people separate them. Sometimes they
No, that's kind of part of one big arc, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. I know the wiki tries to say it's like 2 separate arcs, but I think most people view it as one big mega arc.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the hardest to try and cram all into like a 2-hour movie. But there's also, let's see, the Search for Tsunade one could also be a movie. The Sasuke retrieval, arguably yes, though arguably I'd say you'd probably have to cut down certain fights in that one, I think, to try and make that one work.
Yeah.
In some ways, the tuning exams could be split into 2 movies.
You could. I think you could combine the Search for Tsunade and the Rescue Sasuke into one movie.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Search for Tsunade could be like the first act, and then after that is the Rescue Sasuke arc.
So what, like say have 30 minutes of like encountering Itachi and Kizame, then finding Tsunade, the Sani Battle Royale, and then the Sasuke retrievals.
Yeah.
Okay.
But part 2, I don't know how you make that work as a movie. As movies, you gotta change some things.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to change some things. But yeah, I guess that should be in like the topic. What exactly will they keep faithful to the movies, and what exactly would they need to definitely change?
Well, you see, part 1 I think works best as a trilogy, but part 2 is like a little more. It's much bigger, but it's also much more disjointed. So,
in some ways, you could maybe turn part 2 of Naruto in a cinematic universe at the very least.
I'm getting a little tired of cinematic universes.
That is fair, but in some ways, arguably, you could potentially sort of the way I see it, you could arguably maybe split up like Naruto and Team 7 story, a little bit of Shikamaru's own personal arc with the Hidden Kakazu stuff, and the Sasuke and Taka with like the Hunt of Itachi into its own separate movies, arguably.
Yeah.
Because they're like their own like little personal stories, and you could arguably cut out some of the bits that have one characters in or not. Some characters are only in minor there, and then have them in like a separate movie. Arguably having like part 2 start with like the Kazekage rescue mission, maybe followed by the Sasuke and Sai one, and with the new Team 7 one with like the Land of Grash, Tenchi Bridge. Then have like maybe Shikamaru have his own movie at the same time, and maybe split the Sasuke and Jiraiya Pain stuff, and maybe have Naruto do something else and all that and that kind of thing. then come together for Kage Summit and then like the war and all that. Though granted, the war would have to be probably at least 2 separate movies at least. But
Yeah. Well, that's
but
what they did with the last Harry Potter movie. They basically split it into 2.
but yeah. But arguably, one thing they would probably have to do with the live action Naruto movies, especially with part 2, is probably cut down on the big boss battles.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons, like Naruto is very long, is due to the fact that many of its big fights, especially towards part 2, are sort of like big boss battles.
Yeah. And one boss fight goes on forever, so
Yeah, which on one hand, if it's a character you like that's focused on it, that might be a bit of a benefit. But if it's minor characters, but if it's not a character you want focused on, you're not going to be quite happy for at least a few weeks.
yeah.
Which, for those who got fed up with, say, characters like Sasuke taking all the spotlight, that got some people annoyed when like members of the K11 and even some of the main characters like Kakashi and Sakura didn't really get any spotlight when he was focused on.
Yeah.
But that does also lead me to wonder some aspects of like how true the characters of Naruto will actually be in the movie and what will they definitely need to change, because let's be honest, there's definitely some character arcs and stories that I don't think would gel well with a, let's see, general audience.
Well, Sasuke trying to kill Sakura will not fly.
Yeah, yeah, a romance, yeah, especially a romance, yeah, Sakura romance, if it is portrayed in the way that it is done in the manga, it's not going to fly with the general audience.
Well, it didn't fly with people who were reading the manga.
Oh no, it definitely did not, except for the most diehard shippers who I'd say are still in denial about it.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, yes, Saku is currently, with the current state of the fandom, the most popular ship, but that's not necessarily a good thing, and nor is it a good, and it's not a very shows a very good state of the current fandom.
Well, like I said, of all the pairings that happened at the end, Sasaki was easily the most controversial.
Oh yeah. But it does make me wonder, let's see, how they will actually try and portray that, if they will actually portray it at all in the movies.
Yeah.
At the very least, I can see one changes that they do in the live action is, at the very least, maybe try and get Sakura more action involved, at the very least, since she's supposed to be like a main character.
Yeah.
And also, maybe they might tone down some of her more tsundere tendencies. So maybe she won't like hit Naruto so strongly. At least maybe be annoyed at Naruto at first, but still like do the character arc of warming up to him eventually. Not sure if but I'm not sure if they might have her fall in love with Naruto. I mean, as far as I can tell, live action adaptations never really changed the love interest, really.
Yeah.
Although, granted, I think the closest I've recall hearing was the Scott Pilgrim movie. You know, that live action one that came out years ago, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know what they're going to do, because assuming this gets off the ground, because they've had trouble getting this off the ground for a while, so
Yeah. We have no idea how much, financial support, what kind of scripts they're doing. We know that Kishimoto seems to be willing to get involved at the very least, but we don't really know if that actually will happen. I mean, the only reason this movie is even probably happening this night announcement's even happening in the first place is because One Piece on Netflix has done so well, drawing a lot of new fans into the franchise.
yeah.
They figured they can let's see, it's, with people saying, okay, live action adaptations of anime and manga seem to finally start working now. Maybe we can try that. Which, of course, that took of course years to make, and also a lot of input from Oda and what was acceptable and what needed to be changed to suit the vision. I don't know if how much the people involved are fans of the franchise or how much they know actually about Naruto, even including the director. And if they are fans of the franchise, what exactly do they like in the franchise? Because if they're like diehard Sasu shippers, that I'd definitely say is a warning sign.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, this is also the same studio that did Twilight, so it's not known for romance.
Yeah. Well, I remember Twilight was kind of mocked while it was coming out.
Oh yeah, I mean, it did still make money because you had a lot of, I suppose, fans of the books, or at least I guess teen girls being like attracted to Robert Pattinson, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And also you had and then follow up with 50 Shades trilogy where you had a bunch of middle-aged women being attracted to the actor for that one.
Yeah.
I just know. I just do not know understood the tastes that those audiences had back at the time of those movies.
Why? It's why Raylo was so popular with Star Wars for some reason.
Oh yeah, because it attracted those types of shippers and fans, right?
Yeah, but I remember when they kissed at the end of Rise of Skywalker. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh yeah, it is kind of interesting because there was enough fans to make it popular for the ship that Disney took notice, but it was hated by everyone else, from my understanding. General Star Wars fans did not like that ship.
Well, no, because it's like it's kind of this. I don't know. I have noticed that those ships like Sasusaku, Raylo, and Twilight. It's like they're so They're popular. Most of their popularity comes from fangirls. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, it's definitely those types of things, and depending on how this movie's written, especially Sasusaku, it could be those types of fangirls that go and see this movie. Which honestly, I'd rather not that be the case with like just what impacts the Naruto live action. I'd rather more of like Naruto's personal character growth and journey, and also focus on the martial arts.
Well, also, I don't know how you're going to do like things like Naruto's parents, because I think if you like set that up and you get people thinking something that was going to happen like in the manga and something else happens, I don't think the general audience is going to react too well to that.
Yeah, long term, let's see, the Minato's actions didn't really seem to were well thought out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially when it was revealed later that that Naruto could be saved by putting another half of the Nine Tails back inside him.
Oh yeah, because it's like, why didn't he just put the other half of Kushina? Would have saved her.
It was even done in a what if filler arc. Like, what if Naruto's parents lived and Minato sealed half the Nine Tails in Kushina and half the Nine Tails in Naruto?
Really? I don't remember that.
Oh no, it was a sort of filler arc that they did during the Infinite Tsukiyome phase, where they had Tsunade read before having her dream revealed was like Dan Hokage, everyone else that she cared for still alive, like her brother and Jiraiya.
Well, in that case, though, he would have still died because using that Death God seal guarantees death.
Yeah. Hold on a sec, but it's like let's see, it was like that little book that let's see, before that little dream, there was like a little book that Jiraiya wrote to telling a sort of what if story. And Tsunade read it, and you pretty much had Minato splitting the Nine Tails into Kushina and Naruto, and he's still alive and Kushina's still alive. In many ways, that filler doesn't really exactly follow the laws and rules that Naruto set up, to be honest. But pretty much it was just like, what would it be like if Naruto still had his parents? Which pretty much had let's see, Minato have the fourth, being the fourth Hokage since well into their Genin and Shippuden years. Tsunade never being the Hokage, but still about. Also, the third Hokage survives to the point of part 2.
Yeah.
Also, you have Sasori leading the Akatsuki, and I think pretty much. And the other, let's see, 5 Kages minus Gaara end up dying and becoming his puppets. I'm just basically remembering some of the stuff like that. Oh, and Sasuke still is a bit of a douche, if you will. and working with Danzo for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think Neji's father was resurrected, and Edo Tensei for its like part 1 story. I don't know, it's kind of weird. You kind of also had the members of the Akatsuki encountering the members of like the K11 at that time. I only really watched the second half of it, never really watched the first half, but I don't know. It's a filler that, if I was to judge that filler, it's a filler with a few interesting ideas for what if, but feels like it pretty much rushed everything.
Yeah.
But yeah. They definitely need to work on probably improving some things in the live action, which could technically be done because you've watched the latest live action Avatar show, right? On Netflix.
I have not. I'm not terribly interested, actually. I hear they got Zuko right, but not much else.
Fair enough. Well, let's see. From my understanding, I'll definitely say I have seen. I'm not sure how people have generally said about Zuko. I've only really saw one person's view on Zuko, and I think, well, granted, Lily Orcuds is a very controversial YouTuber, so I'm not sure how people how view it. But I think he thinks that they've made Zuko too much of a villain-like character because, let's see, Lily Orcud doesn't really think Zuko's a villain redemption. It's more of a just general redemption story. But I will definitely say the one thing that they definitely got right about Zuko is definitely his backstory, but in some ways they kind of made it better.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm not sure. Do you care about spoilers or?
Not really. I mean, I know the original stories.
But yeah, but you know how in the reason that Zuko was banished because he was trying to defend, let's see, new fresh soldiers from like this one division that were going to be sacrificed by the Fire Nation and the generals.
Yeah.
The one thing that they changed in the live action is that they made Zuko's crew the members of that division. So they've made it so for that division that Iroh telling them that the reason they are still alive is because of Zuko's sacrifice. Let's see. So in many ways, it kind of made that kind of much more better, bit more deeper connection between Zuko and his crew, at the very least, with that sort of plot line where they've been like fed up. They're getting fed up with Zuko being like a spoiled prince, if you will. But then they learn that they're still alive because of him, and as a result, they become a lot more respectful towards Zuko.
Yeah.
It's a sort of like that kind of like change and improvements to like a live action adaptation could possibly happen. Which, if they do something like that with the whole Naruto backstory thing, with like when the Nine Tails does get sealed in him, that could actually work. Well, granted, they'll probably have to work around probably also work around the rules with the tailed beasts and all that kind of things.
Yeah. Well, I would say what they haven't done well, from what I have seen, is that they have not done Azula well at all.
Oh yeah, Azula wasn't done well at all. Now, granted, let's see, the Netflix aren't really going to be working on this live action Naruto, but I don't know how those working on the live action will work with characters like Sakura, Hinata, Tamari.
That's the thing. I don't know, because it's like the same thing with Harry Potter. You can't exactly have a whole lot of those side plots because you only have so much airtime.
Yeah, but it does make me wonder which characters they will try and keep, maybe even or remove, or just not having, or just not really just having the background, really.
Because I remember, like, the general reaction people were like in the movies for Harry Potter was like people didn't know like Ginny was a background character for most of the first couple movies. So in the sixth movie, when they got together, everyone was like, "Where did she come from?"
Yeah. Let's see. That is probably fair, to be honest, because she was only really vital in the second movie, or Chamber of Secrets.
Well, yeah, I think in the third movie, she's like in one little scene in the background, and that's it.
Yeah, she wasn't really much in. I mean, you saw her with Neville in like Harry Potter 4, but yeah, and okay, she'd had to have sort of a minor role in like the Order of Phoenix, but yeah. But I think this is also a bit of a problem with how J.K. Rowling wrote the romance in Harry Potter, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she's knee deep in her own controversies right now, but
Yeah, it's just like you just like the more she talks about it, the worse it gets.
I was like, you think she'd get a hint and just shut up, but she just will not do that.
Oh yeah. She just refuses to shut up and just keeps constantly tweeting in many ways about it. But yeah,
But
sorry, go on.
well, we're not talking about that. So
Yeah. Honestly, I wish you would just focus more on writing probably good Harry Potter stories again rather than just do that. But then again, I'm not really interested in Harry Potter these days because of her.
well, yeah, a lot of people are because that's the thing about Warner Brothers is that they really want to like I don't know they need to just distance themselves from her, but that's kind of hard to do considering that she owns the property. So
And very close to like, and that's the final say on what stories can or cannot happen.
yeah,
Which is probably why Fantastic Beasts end up being a mess with two separate storylines being merged together. Because it's like, I'm not against the idea of a Fantastic Beast movie series, but merging that with the Dumbledore Grindelwald stuff didn't work. They should have been two separate things.
yeah.
Which arguably you could make work. You know, Fantastic Beasts is a fun, magical beast adventure sort of flicks, and the Dumbledore Grindelwald stuff being the dark, gritty stuff. Though, granted, I think they went too dark with some of the stuff they did there. It's like this franchise was like books that started for children and teenagers, not gross adult stuff. I mean, you literally killed an infant magic deer in the third film. That was just.
I haven't seen those, so I don't really know what you're talking about. So
Oh well, I've just done some spoilers, but
yeah. I don't care. It's okay.
I
I know people are really like uptight about spoilers, but I'm like, look, if it's been out for a while, like there's really no getting around it.
Yeah. Well, basically,
Same thing with like when remakes of the Final Fantasy VII games and all remakes of old games, it's like, look, these are old games, are like 20 some years old. The spoilers for the originals are going to be out on the internet, so it's going to be.
oh yeah, I know pretty much the big spoiler for like Final Fantasy VII of the major character death. It's like,
Oh yeah, actually, and here's what Rebirth did. Rebirth just made it ambiguous.
yeah.
Yeah, the Rebirth just said, "Oh, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Find out in the next game." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I don't know. Just do it, man. It's like everyone knows what's going to happen, but
Well, see, the thing was with the first one remake, they basically had like the characters like undo like the change of destiny. So it was like, are things going to stay the same as the original, or are things going to divulge? So they made it kind of a question if it would still happen.
oh, so it's not necessarily a full-on ritzy readaptation of the original, but
It's actually kind of a pseudo sequel.
okay, so sort of retelling. Okay.
Yeah, reimagining, really.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, probably best back on topic. Let's see.
Yeah.
Where were we? But yeah, I think we would. Sorry, go on.
We can wrap this up in about like 10 minutes, I'd say.
Fair enough, but yeah. But basically,
But yeah, part 2, Naruto is not going to work as a movie. It's not going to work like as a trilogy. You can't really do that because also like reading between the lines of the Chunin exams, apparently what Kishi had planned was that he wanted to have Team 7 go on more missions together. But but his editor told him, no, you can't do that. Introduce more characters, and that's how the rest of the Konoha kids came into play.
oh yeah. And to be honest, the only ones that you should probably make, you can only really do significant roles to, at least with part 1, is Neji, Rockley, and Shikamaru. Especially if doing like part 1 movies. Maybe Hinata, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like she's only like important for like Neji's storyline.
Oh yeah.
But that's just basically it. I mean, granted, she took quite a bit of spotlight towards the end, but that's only because I think the studio, Perriot, and the editors of Jump.
Is that how you pronounce it? Perrot, not Perot.
Perot. I know. I could. Yeah, it might be Perot. I just never really know how to pronounce the name properly.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either. It's just Perrot. I mean, it's supposed to be like a clown, I think, right?
Well, that sums up their work pretty much.
Yeah,
Especially their fillers.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, but yeah, I can, at the very least, I can definitely see. Let's see, but yeah, part two is part two. At best, would probably have to be done in like a live action TV series, but
yeah,
I'm not sure how
I don't know if you can really go from a movie to TV show. So
yeah, I mean, even Marvel is struggling with trying to like from their movies and Disney Plus shows, really.
yeah, well, Marvel feels like it's basically like the MCU is basically just like feels like it's crashing and burning right now.
It definitely feels like they don't. It doesn't. It definitely feels like they don't really know what they're doing. They've put up a lot of stuff, but it doesn't really all feel connected compared to, say, like the Infinity Saga. And now they're starting to have some financial failures. Now, granted, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine will turn it back to the right direction.
Well, Wolverine seems mostly its own thing, aside from some ties to Loki. So
yeah, but who knows? I mean, granted, you also have Disney planning with like all the Disney Plus shows that they have coming out.
Well, that's the other problem. It's like a lot of people were like, well, okay, like a lot of plot details happen in the Disney Plus shows, but then they're picked up on the movies, and people who haven't seen the shows are like, wait, when did this happen?
Yeah. It kind of does show you some of the problems when you have like let's see, live action shows and movies coming out at the same time, and not everyone has access to them. I mean, it could arguably work, but you need to probably make vague references to each other, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure if you can do that with Naruto, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with Naruto. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Well, the One Piece live action wasn't fully faithful. It did make some deviations, so.
Oh yeah.
That's probably what you'd have to do with Naruto, I think.
Yeah. For the most part, I'd say the changes they did worked. So, granted, the only one that really was disliked, from what I can tell, was the Garp storyline, which many felt was included too soon.
Yeah.
But other than that, it seems everyone was fine. At the very least, I do think they'll probably keep the Sasuke storyline that he had with like Orochimaru and like Itachi. I'm not sure if they will keep the romance aspect of the story. Well, if they do, they have to change that one heavily because there's no way that would work.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, I'd probably prefer they just don't do the romance at all. I mean, my personal preference is Naosaku, but something tells me they aren't really going to do that.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know what they're going to do because it's like all that stuff is like, you can't really just tease people like that and then give them something else. I don't think the general audience would like that too much.
Oh yeah, it could be. It might try and make it more favorable to Sasusaku and Narahina long term, but if not, and they stick more with like some of the early Narasaku build up, they might be like long term. Okay, we kind of have that then. It kind of like people say, Naruto and Sakura characters have more chemistry. Maybe we should have them together because I think if we recall back going to Harry Potter movies, when we're looking at those movies, everyone kind of, I think, general audience of that, I think, found Harry and Hermione having much better chemistry than, say, Ron and Hermione and Harry and Ginny.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some things more favorable in the book with Harry and Ginny, though. Granted, I'm not. I think Ron and Hermione have not aged well, and it doesn't help that J.K. revealed that was more of wish fulfillment in her time, really.
Yeah.
But to be honest, yeah, but JK wasn't. But then again, JK also wasted like at least 3 or 4 books of Harry crushing on another Ritzy character, and that just Ritzy ended poorly in the books,
Yeah.
and it was kind of dropped in the movie, really.
Oh yeah, it was not a thing. I mean, it was just like, yeah. I mean, it was like, I don't know. Also, there some of I don't know some of J.K. Rowling's like, I mean, Ginny. I mean, I don't really like her, hate her. She's just kind of there, I guess. I mean, I always thought Harry and Ginny like getting together was like, it's like, yeah, I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It was like, and Ron and Hermione, I was like, yeah, that's like a 6-month relationship tops.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, especially with like the way Hinata's character is portrayed. I'm not sure if people, general audience, will warm up to that or just find her boring. To be honest.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's just well, like I said, they can't really adapt everything from the Chunin exams into a movie. They have to make some alterations.
Yeah, at the very least, I can see them keeping Naruto and Sasuke's storyline. They'll probably keep Sakura's storyline because she's one of the main characters. So I'm not sure if they might do some changes with like the backstory, maybe.
Yeah.
Rock Lee, I can definitely see keeping. Gara, definitely. Maybe Shikamaru. Maybe the Hyuga stuff.
Well, here's the thing about the Neji storyline. That basically establishes that the Hyuga clan, more or less, they brandish their kids as slaves.
Oh yeah, that would probably. I mean,
well, here's the thing. You brought that up, which is like, okay, that's pretty deep stuff, but he didn't do anything with it for the rest of the story, so it'd be kind of weird to bring that up and then not do anything with it.
Oh yeah, in many ways, it kind of reminds me how the Harry Potter books, the Dobby house elf slave storyline, has not really aged well.
Oh no,
it was probably the smart thing to cut it from the books as much as possible.
You mean the movies?
I mean, yeah, cut from the movies as much as possible.
Oh yeah, it's given a little nod, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's like the only reason there was anything that kept in was like Kretcher, but that's because he knew where one of the Horcruxes was.
Yeah,
that was it. He was going to be cut, but J.K. said that it was important down the line. But yeah, but pretty much the biggest problem with that is because you have many of the wizards saying, Hermione, they like it. And it's like, that is like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really notice that too much. I was like, well, okay, but it was like, yeah. Or, I mean, you're kind of like more on Hermione's side these days.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that J.K. Rowling herself, politics-wise, is more of just status quo, really.
Yeah.
Maybe a few little changes, but not many major changes.
It's kind of like, Harry Potter and Naruto are kind of similar in that regard.
Yeah. Naruto, I mean, Naruto talked big about changing things, but pretty much it stayed the same. Oh, we've got someone in the back in the side chat saying hi. Farid Khan, who's become a bit of a regular on my channel.
Yeah, I've seen him on mine. Hi. Actually, we're almost wrapping up, man. You missed.
Yeah, you missed quite a bit of topics, and we're just pretty much talking about some of the plot lines that probably would likely need to be dropped, and which the Hyuga slave storyline thing, that the sealed thing, that's definitely something that they either need to drop or they need to work out their own original story long term for that.
Because basically, like, it's like, no, here's the thing. It wasn't a problem that Kishi brought it into the story because it's like, well, this could actually lead to something. But it doesn't go anywhere. That's why it's like, okay, what's up with that?
Yeah. And you definitely think it should have maybe followed up, especially if Neji ended up being alive at the end of part 1, because it's like Neji, Lee, and Shikamaru. You'd think those would be the 3 side characters that would get at least some focus in part 2 at the very least. Even if all the others were in the background. Those are the 3 you'd figured would at least be the ones that get the focus.
Yeah.
Instead, you got Lee being replaced by Mike Guy in a sense, which I do wonder maybe if the live action might do the smart thing and have Lee with more Guy Ritzy with his stuff. Have more like them working together in that bit. But yeah. Anyway, one other topic I want to try and discuss before we wrap up is Naruto casting. How do you think they're going to do the casting as well? That's going to be...
Okay, if I remember back when the day, Kishimoto did say, I mean, this might not change. I mean, these characters, their names are so clearly Japanese. I think you have to get mostly Asians.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard somewhere that Kishimoto said Naruto is European, or
No, Naruto is American,
Naruto American, Sakura European,
and Sasuke's Asian.
Asian. It's very likely that they might do that, but I'm not entirely sure if.
Yeah, I actually, when I talked this about with somebody else, somebody said, "Wow, Kishi, you'd whitewash your own character." And it was like, well, yeah, Kishi's kind of a weird guy.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, let's see. At the very least, I do know with the One Piece live action, you definitely let's see, you had a very diverse casting, but I think that's also because they stuck more to like what Oda said, what the nationality of the One Piece characters would more or less be. Okay, granted, Luffy's actor I think is from Mexico or South America.
One Piece was a very because I think Oda said, yeah, this is what this character's nationality would be in real life.
Yeah. So Japanese, yeah.
Like, for example, with Dragon Ball, I would imagine that Goku and, most of those characters would be Chinese, but Vegeta I could see as being white because he's supposed to be a bit of a foreigner, so...
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, that is also one thing they'll have to work on because, well, as we learned with Ghost in the Shell, doing a certain, let's see, Hollywood celebrity castings can cause a bit of controversy with, whitewashing.
Well, the original Avatar movie, that was whitewashing.
Oh, yeah, that as well. That was, extremely controversial.
Well, yeah, even the movie itself wasn't very good either, so...
Yeah, in some ways, it's like, it might have been a hint to not try and do a 20-long, show season into, one movie, which might have been, I think, Lionsgate. Maybe, maybe this should be a TV show instead of a movie, which, but, I mean, arguably, like we said, part one does look like it could work as a movie, at least the Land of Waves arc. If that's what they're going to adapt. We don't know what exactly kind of story they're doing. They could do their own original story, but that could come with its own faults because, well, original live-action adaptation stories, for the most part, from what I can tell, none of them have ever been really well received, or many films stay true to what the message is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Dragon Ball Evolution. That movie was like, oh my god, this is bad.
Yeah, so that could also, if they did that direction, it could also backfire. But no, granted, with Kishimoto apparently being involved or giving some input to the director, that might not be the case. They might be more trying to follow the actual storyline.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here in a minute because I gotta do some errands. So you want to say anything to wrap it up real quick?
Yeah, fair enough. I think probably time to wrap up this discussion. I mean, there might be a few more things to say, but maybe into more announcements. But yeah, I will admit, I will say the director seems like a good choice. I'm not sure if I want to see the live action movie if it does happen. I mean, my biggest concern is just especially if it does the end game of Naruto. With the stuff with Kaguya.
That's another thing. All that stuff with Kaguya and all that villain changes, I don't think audiences are really going to react too well to that.
Yeah, it's in many things, they should probably just completely cut it and stick with Madara as the big bad because, well, that's what has been going. I know there's been some bits on Twitter saying, "Oh, Kaguya's actually been smart and clever," and I've even debated some people that you probably
people actually say that now.
Yeah, I think there's occasionally been some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, Kaguya makes thematic sense." You remember some of the arguments I've been having with some people online about Kaguya.
Well, I don't know because that's not what people were saying when she was first revealed.
Oh yeah, and to be honest, I still think that is the general trend. It seems there might be more of newer fans have come in and thinking this is all well planned, but generally.
It wasn't planned. Kaguya was a last-minute addition. He even admitted it.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's clearly done to make sort of spin-offs with like Otsutsuki bad guys. Third card says, yeah, kind of stand why though. It makes me also wonder if they're going to do a live action Naruto, are they going to try and do a live action Boruto?
Let's hope not.
Yeah, because if they plan to try and do that long term as well, that would also mean that they would definitely have to make pairings like Sasu and Narahina canon, though. If they do it the way like the manga did, no, that's going to put off audiences. But
Yeah.
I know. But if they're not going to do that, arguably you could just have a like open ending for the pairings, or just do some other pairings that are probably much better depending on the chemistry. But it would be kind of interesting if we see like the Naruto actor and the Sakura actor having like sort of good chemistry, like I said, with Harry and Hermione. And it'll make some people wonder, are we going to do this sort of thing again or not? But who knows? It might just be better for live action just not to do Naruto ships, or just not do a shipping storyline. Instead, just try and give some other aspects to like the female cast. Some subplots that looked promising but never really followed through. Like Hinata with like the Hyuga stuff. Sakura with the medic Genjutsu and Team 7. It's just Team 7 friend Ritzy family bonds kind of thing.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. But anyway, Ritzy, Greg, thank you for joining and discussing Naruto live action with me, and Ritzy, and hope to see you again for discussion again soon, whatever that might be. It might be Naruto again, might be something else.
Yeah.
And for those like Third Khan who have watched this stream and listened, I hope you enjoyed what we had to say on Naruto, and I hope to see you all next time when we discuss like another stream discussing what be it Naruto, Star Wars, Marvel, let's see any other anime or manga. But for now, I'm Blue Star Saber.
I'm Retrospect Greg.
And we are signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.